Welcome back to the Samplers for another review video from the world of cutting-edge virtual instruments. My name's Greg Revell. Today I'd like to introduce you to Distinction from Blecksaudio. Distinction is an ambient and resonant powerhouse that film score composers hungry for a sound design engine that is lush, beautiful and also bold and epic. Distinction is built from over 100 unique sound sources, both electronic and real world, to provide an inspiring range of presets and functionality to satiate any sonorous need. Drawing from sound sources such as bowing cymbals, routed synthesizers, rolling marbles in a frame drum, and even generating feedback with guitar amplifiers and microphones, Distinction provides a warm and lush world fit for a Stanley Kubrick-inspired science fiction soundscape, among a myriad of other possibilities. Distinction requires the full version of Kontakt 6.7.1 or higher. It will not work with the free Kontakt player. It comes with over 200 presets and over 100 sound sources in a manageable 3.2 gigabyte download. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Blecksaudio for kindly making a copy of the library available for today's review. That said, they haven't had any input into the making of today's video because at the Samplers we want to be unencumbered by obligation, free to express opinions without fear or favour for your benefit. In today's video, I'll give you a taste of the presets, the core functionality of Distinction before showing you a short composition I wrote using Distinction, and then wrapping up today's video. If you love to stay on top of the latest content from the fascinating world of virtual instruments, then smash the like button right now to give this video a boost. Go on, do it now while you have the chance. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe to the channel and you're good to go. Okay, let's crack on with it, shall we? So welcome into Distinction. I've loaded it up here in Kontakt. So right from the outset, let me tell you why I really like this instrument and how I came to love it even more when I started playing with it. It simply comes down to one simple fact. I went to YouTube, I went looking for a walkthrough video, and I found Blecksaudio's walkthrough that they created for Distinction. It is the gold standard on how to do a walkthrough. Absolutely crystal clear, very well explained, and they didn't skip any functionality. Every detail that you'll find on this interface, of which I'll show you more shortly, is explained in full detail. So I can't begin to tell you why that's so important, because there's been so many instruments I've looked at in the past, all excited to learn more about this fantastic new instrument, only to find they either don't have a walkthrough, or if they do, they're usually clumsily put together with a really fake sounding AI voice, and they don't have a user manual, and if they do, it's really clunky. Blecks have excelled by having a really well thought out walkthrough video and a very well thought out manual. So that just put me in a very positive frame of mind, and I felt when I came to have a play with it, I felt I knew the product. So armed with that background, I dived into this and this is what I found. So let's have a quick listen to one of the presets. This one's called Zephyr's Veil. So I'm not sure if what you can hear on the video does justice to what I hear in my headphones here in front of my door, but it's beautifully lush, very rich, very well-rounded sound sources playing there. So before I go on with some of the other presets to give you a listen to, a quick overview of how it all hangs together. Again, I really like this simple, easy interface, which you can tell in the top left-hand corner rather, there are two modes. There is the easy mode, and when you hover over it, it switches to pro mode. Clicking that reveals a lot more depth in the parameters you can modify. Going back to the easy version for the moment, simply, you might have noticed when I had a look at that preset, you can control the layers or the filter. It's a low pass filter. You can see down here being controlled by the mod wheel. There is a simple menu to be able to select your presets from that you can cycle through. Some saturation, some reverb, and you're good to go. And finally, also a lovely function I always welcome in these types of instruments is a random generator, which allows you to generate random sources with random parameters that you can then save and customize as your own. A couple more presets and then I'll give you a brief overview of some of the features. Let's randomly select Nordic Home. Beautiful, lush soundscapes. Echoes of tomorrow. Gorgeous stuff. There's echoes of Jean-Michel Jarre for me coming through there. A touch of Equinox that if you explore some of the presets, you might get that feeling. There's a throwback to, I get sort of images of sort of Stanley Kubrick 2001 coming cresting over the horizon with the sun rising in the background. That really inspires me with these really rich sounds. Maybe a couple more. Let's randomly select once again. Of course, being random, I've got no idea what's going to come up. That's half the fun of it. Beautiful stuff. I must confess, I quite like the animation too, the graphics. Feels like it's iris of an eye fading into a planetary sphere or planetary orb. Gorgeous stuff. So let's have a quick listen, or rather a look at the Pro version, or the Pro screen, I should say. So one of the core reasons I'm not going to labour too much on everything you see here is because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to simply direct you to the Blecksaudio walkthrough. It's far superior than anything I can do. But what it's fundamentally about is that there are 3 sound sources, 2 sound layers that you can control here, and a, what would you call this? A series of noise layers, if you like. So things like forest sounds and cymbals and rustling paper. So what this means is that you can control the layers, of course, and to do so, you can select the layer from which would reveal a layer, a sound source option that you can check here, control the volume, likewise control this layer here. I'm going to randomly choose this one called tuned, and let's call this one some papering, and again by random. So you can hear the papering layer, I assume it is. So I'll just mute it. Think of the pure sound sources, which you can saturate, the reverb, the filter, controlled by default by the mod wheel, the vibrato depth, the reverb, the delay, the envelope, and the low, mid, and air qualities of an EQ. From each of these sound sources can be individually scrolled through, but each one of the sound sources has their own sub-layer menu, if you will, which you can control the pitch, but also the transpose, a high-pass filter, a low-pass filter. There's even a feature to allow you to sort of get out of the road of some of the resonant frequencies that can be generated, an auto-pan filter. So each one of the sound sources has their own unique such a features or parameters. Now, the noise layer themselves are not pitched, as is the case with the sound sources, meaning that if you go up and down the keyboard, obviously the pitch changes. But with the papering, if I solo it, so all we get is the noise layer. It doesn't change when you play around on the keyboard. So that's all I really wanted to say with the actual features, because I just find it really, really easy to use, to want to explore some of the features. I love the generate. Shall we try the generate? Let's see what it comes up with. Let's just get rid of these menus for the moment and see what comes up. Nice. You can maybe add some saturation. Change the reverb. It's nice. It's a beautiful way of actually playing around with the sounds. I'm going to generate one more. What do we come up with? I'm going to add a noise layer and adjust some of the volumes a little bit. And if you let them ring out, you'll hear some interesting textures. Let's bring it down the bottom a bit. So the thing to recall about remember rather, about the generate button, it's not generating a random preset, but it's generating a random set of sound sources to create your own unique preset. That pretty much covers the functionality that I want to do so in today's video, but I want to give you another potential tip that I found works really well with distinction. Because of the ambient nature of it, big, fat, wide octaves in the left hand, and give yourself plenty of space and travel up the keyboard with the right hand a couple of octaves apart, and you get that lovely wash of low frequency and high frequencies. I personally enjoy when I go down the octave range on my keyboard, so I'm playing in the lower end rather than the piercingly high frequencies of the upper end, although they do have their place. And secondly, also consider really riding the sustain pedal. The sustain pedal allows you to create these layers when you add simple notes on top of your chords to really come to the fore. That can be a really powerful tip too. Awesome stuff. I really, really love it. I'm going to now show you the short video, the short composition that I wrote using distinction. Let's head on over there now for a quick listen. So a few notes about the composition you just heard. It comprises both distinction with some other supporting instruments. Apart from the core being centered around distinction, I also added a little trailer piano and some percussion just to cement the rhythm in place. And I also added a human voice synth to sing a little supporting melody. But what do I think about distinction itself? I really enjoyed it. As I mentioned at the start of the video, so well produced was the manual and their walkthrough video, I was immediately lulled into a positive frame of mind to receive it. And the quality of the instrument is really good from a small independent developer. There is obviously a theme here, and distinction will appeal to the connoisseurs of ambient and anthemic synth-inspired soundscapes. It gave me visions of watching the curvature of the Earth from space while the sun rises behind it, but I think it will work really well in supporting capacity in orchestral settings where some thickening of the sound, not only with a pad but with some gentle pulsing, is called for. And it does well in that it has a classic retro synth feel to it, but it can also turn on a dime to fit a contemporary setting. I also really like the fact that the interface was simple and clean, rather than cluttering up your mind with 1,000,001 controls that other instruments sometimes do in the false belief that more buttons are better. but not with distinction. Enough control to make it customizable, but not so much as to bury you in confusion. If ambient and resonant soundscapes appeal to you, then I think you'll find Distinction will provide you with a lot of value. And at an intro price of €99, discounted from its normal €149, it's an affordable investment that I'm sure will pay for itself in terms of adding depth to your productions, or at the very least just all-round playability and enjoyment. And with that, it's time to sign off from this installment of The Samplist. My thanks to you for staying with me all the way through to the end, and to Blecksaudio for making Distinction available. On the way out, help us to boost this video by hammering the like button, and be sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you can get the next one. And with that, this is Greg Revell signing off for The Samplist, imploring you to please find your sounds and find your soul. See you on the next one.